Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there, welcome back.
As always, guys, we invite you to join us over on Patreon. As low as $1 a month, you get exclusive videos over there on a regular basis. It's an amazing family. And in total, we have just about 1,000 people following us on Patreon, which is pretty cool, pretty big.
It's very nice. It's a great little community.
It's a wonderful community. And we got a lot of craziness going on, so let's take a deep breath and let's look at something beautiful. These heavenly bodies. Oh, man, boy, every time I look at stars like this, I miss the desert sky. I just can't wait to get back out in the desert. But, yeah, we have a pretty good view here. We do have a pretty good view here, too. So you have the crescent, moon, Venus, and Regulus all shining together. Beautiful.
Gorgeous.
And when you look at that, that must be a what is that? That's got to be a reflection, right?
I think so.
It has to be a reflection, because otherwise we got two moons. But then we know there's a lot more, that has not been given to us, that has been given to us, as far as information about even the makeup of what we call outer space. Meanwhile, we have Comet 3I Atlas suddenly getting very bright. In fact, you could see how bright it is getting. Interesting. Some people wonder, is this... you get everything. You get those people that are completely convinced that this is a ship. You get other people that say, no, it's just basically an icy ball of rock and, again, ice. And then you get those, there are quite a few out there that channel that this is a Galactic Federation ship or a Lyran ship. Mm-hmm. And, again, Cindy does see that there is consciousness attached to this, and this has purpose.
Well, there's several. I've seen more than just 3I Atlas. There's other ships traveling with it. So it's very, very interesting. And I do get that in a lot of ways, it's more of a positive change that's coming.
Well, let's just think about it a second. If you were part of a extraterrestrial brigade that came to Earth in the ancient past, conquered the planet, and then didn't want to let people know that you are actually non-terrestrial, it would make sense to kind of downplay any life out there. Wouldn't it make sense to give you the line of thinking that space is an empty, cold vacuum, life is really rare, and even that there's tremendous differences in distance, like, between all the heavenly bodies? What if the heavenly bodies weren't that far away from each other? What if space was more of an ocean that was navigable? What if life abounds? Well, that's exactly what it says in the Hindu scriptures.
Which are, I really suggest anyone who's looking for a fuller picture than, what the Western style religions might give you is go toward those other books. Go towards the East.
Oh, or yeah, absolutely. And also look into the Taoist line of thinking. It's fascinating. Human potential is limitless when you look at it from a Taoist perspective. As expected, we have hashtag RAGASA, Ragasa. Sounds like a monster is coming to life to battle Godzilla. Yeah. This could be a sub 900 millibar storm in the South China Sea, which is extreme rarity. In other words, yes, a super typhoon. This one is going to cause problems. And again, it's heading towards extremely populated areas. Please do put out your prayers and intention. They have a lot more power than most people realize. This is San Bernardino. Oh my. Again, desert doesn't handle extreme amounts of water. And it doesn't take a ton of water to make the desert deadly and just insane with the mud flows. So this is the conditions that we had. Look at this guy. Nice truck. Oh man. Again, please don't take any chances out there. These times are very, very dangerous when it comes to all these storms. And in fact, in this storm, this is Mojave, by the way. This is Mojave. Yeah, we're very familiar with the Mojave, and holy cow! You know, we've seen tremendous evidence of insane floods out there, everywhere from Ridgecrest up to Death Valley, as we've transversed that area and had a really enjoyable time doing it. It was a lot of fun. There's also, again, so many legends and stories of inner earth entrances through different places here, and beings, everything from giants to all sorts of strange paraphernalia down inside those entrances. Absolutely, we have seen a lot of ships out in this desert. Meanwhile, yes, a child was found deceased after floodwaters swept away a vehicle in Barstow. This is so sad, and this is just what we're seeing all over the world. It's still ongoing. Ruidoso. Why does anybody have it out so bad for Ruidoso? If you want to blame God or some, divinity, I personally don't think that's the case. I think there's a lot more technology behind what we're seeing. Yes, there are natural cycles, absolutely. But at the same time, Ruidoso, this is, just a beautiful little corner of New Mexico. And we do love New Mexico. We had a lot of great times in New Mexico. Some of the best meditations we've ever had, some of the best hiking we ever had. This is a tiny little town that's been through wildfires and floods nonstop.
It's been pretty bad. I mean, it really is becoming so obvious that that's definitely a target.
Well, this is what I mean. When we go back to like 2018, 2019, we were doing a lot of videos on what's a good place to write out the apocalypse. Well, Four Corners area, which again, Arizona, New Mexico, Utah, and Colorado, that was one of the main ones that most people would agree on. The Appalachian Mountains, especially Tennessee and North Carolina, northern Georgia, again, Virginia as well. This was another idea, and they got hammered too. Asheville got so hammered, it just was beyond belief. So these areas that you would think would be great for homesteading, for trying to ride an apocalypse out, they almost seem like there's a bullseye on them. Meanwhile, as you see flooding in Jamaica, again, this is everywhere, guys. This is everywhere. And as somebody that was studying the Bible nonstop through my childhood up into early adulthood, and it continued after that, it just reminds me about how, God would get angry and either send a plague or a flood. And if you really go back and you look at the word that we keep saying, God, it literally translates in the very first application to the mighty ones, those beings that judge the humans down here on planet Earth. It's in the plural. And then, it gets us thinking about what would extraterrestrials do? Again, that have conquered a planet and you want to keep everybody in line. Meanwhile, Kilauea, Hawaii, this is episode 33. What does that mean, guys? High lava fountains began erupting from Kilauea Summit early Friday morning, marking the start of episode 33 at the Hawaiian Island volcano. Color code is orange. Episode 33. I wonder if there's anything significant in our future. That's
sure a curious number there. Weird.
It is. By the way, today is, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't this, aren't we in fall today?
Yeah, we're doing something very interesting with the equinox today, and we're having a solar eclipse, and it's going to be crazy.
This is insane, but I do hope we'll be able to get one more video up later or potentially go live later. There's a lot of change ongoing. Look at this. This says it all. Do you think there's any truth to the fact that Wi-Fi might not be good for your health? Well, this is an interesting study. Well, those plants where the Wi-Fi is off, they seem to be doing good, but not the ones with the Wi-Fi on. Think about that, and think about how much We are all surrounded by this stuff.
It's weird.
Talk about weird. This is weird. Now, this looks like that object that was supposedly growing out of a rock meteorite in Panama. Up in the air, flying. It's not Mothra. It's certainly not Rodan. What is it? Is it just a simple camera trick? It's easy enough to do that nowadays. Absolutely. Everything from Project Bluebeam to obviously all sorts of AI trickery. I think what it does is it makes it so we just simply, if we're of that mindset, we throw it all out. We throw it all out. We don't even consider things that might actually be legit.
I wouldn't.
Meanwhile, 100 years ago, we didn't have to call food organic. It was all just simply food. Now, that was never necessarily good. You know, as much as I like Fritos and Doritos, we don't eat them anymore. Now, do we ever eat alternatives that are organic coming from a small company? Yeah, occasionally. I mean, it's not the norm. Again, we tend to eat whole foods, which is what? A food that's one item. Like, if we're going to have oats or oatmeal, it's just plain organic oats, and we doctor it up with our own honey, maple syrup. That's the only two, like, sugar type things that we use ourselves. Or, again, actual fruit instead of fruit-flavored things. You know, again, it truly is. It's a sad state of affairs when, if you look to the United States, we have some states where 60-something% of the population is clinically obese, which, when you're clinically obese, I mean, the life expectancy is very, very low. It brings on all sorts of health problems. And even when you look at this, here's a great example. Why in the U.S. do we have high fructose corn syrup? Corn syrup. Why do they have high fructose corn syrup and then corn syrup, etc.? Natural flavorings. Oh, yeah. There's a lot of things that are quote unquote natural flavorings that, if you really knew, you wouldn't want to be anywhere near them. Over in the UK, it's just tomatoes, spirit vinegar. I wonder why they designated that spirit. Maybe it's derived from alcohol, perhaps. Maybe it comes from, I don't know, wine? I'm not sure why they call it spirit vinegar. But, you know, that might be a UK thing. Sugar, salt, spice, herb extracts. Again, RFK Jr. is doing a lot to get a lot of these things removed. Is it too little, too late? That's the only question I would have. Is there bigger events around the corner that's going to waylay what RFK Jr. is doing? Do you realize this is what LED lights look like? They flash 100,000 times a second. Wow, I would think that could possibly give somebody an epileptic seizure.
Or a good headache.
Yeah, ever wonder why you have that low-grade headache you can't get away from? You know, again, a lot of people are starting to realize that everything surrounding us is toxic on purpose. It's just that simple. Meanwhile, one spider plant can absorb up to 95% of chemicals like formaldehyde and mold spores from a 200 square foot area of your home in 24 hours. Yes, plants are our friends. And trees, we need trees, and yet they keep cutting them down. Well, somebody cut these massive, mammoth blocks up in Utah. This is just north of Monument Valley. Obviously, a quarry for the gods, or giants anyway.
You know, they keep trying to say it's just natural formation, though.
Yeah, in other words, they're saying, have you drank enough fluoride yet? If you have any doubts, please go drink more fluoride, is what the system is saying. Here is an Arctic henge. This is up in Iceland. What the heck is this? This is really cool. These are, again, in alignment with the night sky and with the heavenly objects above, because in many cases, this was all about pointing out where we or other benevolent beings came from that have helped us in the past.
I think that's beautiful.
Yeah, our history is just so much more exciting than they tell you. And also, It's not all bad. It's really only when we got taken over by the dark matrix that gave us the Kali Yuga. Meanwhile, silent retreats are surging in popularity, and religion is just optional. Yeah, why do we always have to identify as something? Think about it. Why? Because they want to divide us. So every time I see somebody that says, I am a blank and I am proud of it, I always think, well, the dogma, the conditioning, the system, has wormed its way in there so strongly that we don't even recognize that we're being divided into little camps, little tribes that then can be pitted against each other, like Democrats and Republicans, the left and the right, communists and capitalists. It goes on and on.
It does. It continues, and until you really start asking questions why, it just sort of goes on, and some people are content being in the dark. But then, usually something happens in someone's life and it's very traumatic and they have to start asking questions. And that awakening can then become very, very painful. But, it's part of life. It's how we grow. And the sooner we can accept these things, then usually the freer your soul can feel.
Yes, absolutely. And the misunderstandings of the different traditions in and of itself. I was, again, sharing on the first video today, I was reading the Oralinda book, which, again, is somewhere, if we believe the story, between 800 and 1200 years old. And that's the copy. The information is supposed to be 4,000 plus years old. And in it talks about Freya, who is a goddess, talking about the fact that there's ultimately just one God, in that there's one source. There's one consciousness. And it's manifesting itself in a myriad of different ways. Now, this is a being that's taken as a goddess. The problem is, we should throw the term God and goddess totally out, because it's just been misused and it's been labeled so many different things, so many different entities. We can call things ultra-terrestrials, which would include, beings of different densities, different vibrational frequencies living on other dimensions. Extraterrestrials, beings living inside the earth, inner earth, under the ocean beings, again, like Owans, etc. There's many different beings out there, but in reality, there's one source, and that source doesn't have a single chosen group by any denomination. That would be just beyond silly to even conceive of something like that. You could look at it as the ultimate arrogance to think, well, we are the only ones. Can you get any more egotistical and arrogant than that? I don't think so. I don't think so, and yet people don't see where there's anything wrong with it because they've been so brainwashed and indoctrinated.
Indeed.
And that's just the truth. But since the plague upon the land, every space is booked, and this is in Monk's Corner. I know Monk's Corner very well. This is a real hole-in-the-wall little town in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by a couple of very big lakes down in the low country of South Carolina. So here you go, the fact that this is in the Bible Belt in the Deep South, and you have people that would describe themselves as spiritual, not religious, booking this place weeks and months out ahead of time. Cause for hope. Because again, people want to, I think most people want to do good. I think most people want to be good people. It's just that we end up getting divided into thinking we got it right, they got it all wrong. And then, of course, it's just one step away from, labeling somebody with something like they did in the Inquisition, witches, etc. Suffer not a witch to live. Yeah, that's right in that book. Yeah, again, it's also in there, turn the other cheek. It's also in there, why don't you remove the plank from your eye instead of the speck from your brother? Again, how do we reconcile all this together in that one book? It's because it's been twisted, distorted, and utilized as a tool for division instead of, what the original intent of the original teachers were. So again, delve deeper and go within. Go within. There are so many things under heaven and earth, that are wonderful, snuggly, and cute, but you might get poked a little bit with some of them.
He's just too cute.
He is adorable. And so, guys, we give you thanks for being part of this family. We look forward to your comments. As always, source bless and namaste.
Namaste.